Kia ora, my name's Janie and welcome to This is Kiwi. This season, we're talking to 6 remarkable Kiwi who represent a generation that's using the power of passion to unlock financial freedom. My guest today is a rugby megastar. His All Blacks career has spanned a decade. He's the leading try scorer in Super Rugby and he sports one heck of a mullet. As well as being a rugby legend, TJ Perenara is also a dedicated father, husband and passionate advocate for social justice. He's not afraid to speak out about what he believes in, and that includes the importance of pay transparency and changing the narrative around Māori fatherhood. You know how he plays, and now you get to understand how he thinks. Here's TJ Perenara on This is Kiwi. TJ Perenara, welcome to This is Kiwi. I'm super excited to have you in the studio today. How are you?
Kia ora, I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be able to come in and be a part of your guys' series. And yeah, I'm looking forward to having a chat.
Yeah, we're going to dive in deep on a lot of stuff. We're really thrilled to have you, especially because, you know, scheduling's a big problem for you, right? Like, you got a lot going on and you've got little ones at home. I do. Yeah, we do have a very busy schedule, but being able to make some time to come out here has been important. 2 little kids at home, little boys, 5 months old now, girls 3.5 years old. So things are busy. Things are busy back home, both on and off the field. So, but it is nice to be able to make some time and come up. 2's different to 1, isn't it?
A lot different, yeah. A lot different. And our boy is, like, he sleeps awesome at night, which is so helpful.
Oh, yeah, so people will be like, jealous right now.
The last couple of nights he's not been as good, but like not being as good means he slept 8 hours straight, woke up, had a feed, and then we went to sleep. So we're very lucky in that space.
You are incredibly lucky.
Yeah, but just during the day, which is harder on my wife because I go to training, he's very clingy and doesn't want to go down and stuff like that. So she gets super drained throughout the day, and it's my duty to come home and take him off her hands for a bit so she can have some downtime.
And then you get the sweet shift when he just goes to sleep.
Yeah, exactly,
Man.
Exactly.
What were you like as a kid?
I was a sore loser as a kid.
I got one of those.
I was extremely competitive. I come from a very competitive household, and I did not like losing. And what I'll give to my parents, they didn't teach that out of me. Like, they didn't hero it either. Like when I was a sore loser, they didn't hero it and say that was awesome or whatever. But they definitely didn't teach it out of me, and I think it's probably helped me throughout my career. I'm probably still a little bit of a sore loser now and super competitive, but I wasn't told don't be a sore loser. It was, if you don't like that feeling, find a way to not get that feeling and sort of change that mindset on being a sore loser to how do I win?
Yeah.
And like what things do I need to put in place so that I don't lose and then I don't have to feel that way. So fostering that energy in a different way.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
I think so too.
Extremely progressive parenting.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is, and probably comes from the fact that everything we did in our family was a competition.
Yeah.
So I couldn't hide from that, and I liked competing. I liked being a part of whether it was cards or backyard cricket or folding the washing the fastest. Like they would like create games and competition with everything. So. Yeah, I guess it was a little bit progressive from them, and it's definitely helped me, I think.
And what about as a teenager? What were you like?
I was very single focused.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an All Black.
From what age did you want to be an All Black?
I guess it would have been from like when I was 5 or 6 years old, but
Right.
properly wanted to be an All Black from about 14, 15 years old, where like, I disregarded a lot of other things in order to put myself in the best position to be an All Black. My old man used to say, the hardest trainers make the best players, and I clung to that. My best mate, Tere, he's playing rugby in France at the moment. We weren't the best players, definitely weren't the best players, but man, we trained hard, and we both had a vision of wanting to be All Blacks, and we like made a commitment to each other that we would give everything that we could to do that. And we started to go to the gym really early in the morning. I used to open mail at my mum's work for a job before school, and we would go to the gym before that, go to that job that we had, and then go to school. And we probably didn't understand at the time, but we started to see that work that we were putting in before school and stuff was starting to benefit us on the field. And I got addicted to that feeling of knowing that I was putting this work in that other people weren't, and I was seeing the results out on the field. I was seeing that I was becoming better than players. I was stronger, I was fitter, I was faster. My skill set was higher than theirs because I was putting this work in, and it was this instant, it was like a light bulb moment where I realised if I do this forever, it might not mean that I'm going to be an All Black, but it's going to mean that I've put in so much more work than all these other people. I give myself the best shot of being better than all of them.
It's a fascinating mindset to have during a time of your life when you're supposed to be pushing boundaries and, getting distracted by partying and girls and, hanging out with the lads and all that stuff. And you had this singular focus. Was there any room for all that other stuff as well?
There wasn't much room for it, to be completely honest. That competitiveness between me and my best mate as well was there. Like, I wanted to be better than everyone else, but I really wanted to be better than him too, and seeing him train and not drink and not go out partying was something that drove me to be like, okay, I need to sacrifice that too. And we went to the odd party every now and again, but it wasn't to the level of what other people were doing it. And I knew that if I wasn't doing that, we play on a Saturday afternoon. If I went and trained on that Sunday while people were going out drinking or going out partying, I knew that I had another session ahead of them as well. But I was so addicted to being better than everyone else.
Do you think that cost you at any point in terms of, other areas of life?
Definitely, yeah. Like my attention to detail in my friendship groups, my attention to school, my attention to being the best brother or son, like it was all second to me. And I do think it did. I didn't nurture relationships with my sisters or my parents as much because I just wanted to train. Didn't nurture relationships with my grandparents as much because it didn't matter as much to me. So it definitely has its price tag. And there would be moments that I wish I went back on and spent more time with certain people because now that they're gone, you know, and I don't have the opportunity to go back and do that. But it is part of that addiction to wanting to be better as you sacrifice some things.
Yeah, if it's any consolation, particularly during your teenage years, teenagers notoriously not very good at nurturing their relationships with siblings and parents and so on. So,
but even post being a teenager, being a young adult, I still, even to this day, I still have that same addiction to wanting to be better, that I sacrifice a lot of time with the people that I love the most. There will be my wife and my kids that I will spend time with. I still get up and go and train before our team trains because I want to be better than everyone in my team. I want to be better than every halfback in my team, and I want to be better than every halfback in the world. Now, I know that comes with a price. That means I leave before my wife and kids get up, and I'm home quite late in the day too. So I'm sacrificing that time with them. But then when I am home, I'm trying to be so invested in that time that I do have with my family that means I don't have time to invest in my friends. I don't have time to invest in my sisters now. I don't have time to invest into my parents now. So that's still a sacrifice that I'm making.
Yeah, I mean, and it's important that when you do have those times with those people, it's quality time,
exactly
right? Quantity's no good if it's not quality.
I agree with you, yeah.
And,
being present,
And for everyone who's got little kids, it's kind of the same as well. So, I mean, successful rugby career aside, that season when you've got little kids, it is difficult to make time for anyone else because they suck up so much of it.
They do, yeah. And I want them to, because we don't get it back with them. And it might sound sad or wrong, but I don't care that much either. Right now I don't, because I want my kids and my wife to know that the time that I do have away from the sport that I love is for you. Yeah.
Everything has an opportunity cost, and the fact of the matter is your children will grow up in time and they probably won't want to spend so much time with you. Sorry to let you know that. Also, it would be lovely to play rugby professionally forever, but you can't. Yeah. So there will be time later, And
some people might not be there in that time, which is sad, but it's a choice that I'm making.
I still reckon they're pretty proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's a typical day like for you?
Our days change quite a bit throughout the week, depending on what day we played or whatever. But say a Tuesday for me would look, I wake up early. Hopefully, I like my son waking up at like 5ish, because then I get to do the mornings with him, so that's more time with me that I get to spend with him. But often he wakes a little bit later, so around 6. So if he wakes later, then I'll be gone before he sort of gets up. I'll get to training. It's a reformer, like a Pilates.
Yeah.
So I do that in the morning, get my body going, and then I'll do my skills session. We're very lucky to have a green room at training, which is indoor, so I'll get in there, I'll get my skills and that done, and then I'll be into some hot colds, get my recovery going, and then we're into our team meetings and that for training. So we get all those meetings out the way. Then we're into the gym. Usually I'll get into a gym session, out onto the field for a team training, and then our extras in that post-training. So the extras that I do in the morning, or the skill set stuff I do in the morning, is my own stuff. I like to be quite selfish with that time, because a big part of my job is, how do I serve this team? How do I get people in certain positions?
Doesn't sound very selfish to me. That sounds like you're actually thinking of the team.
Yeah, but in order to be able to serve them, I have to be selfish, and I have to do the stuff that's most important to my job. So I like having that time for myself, and then the extras that we do after training is more team stuff, and also on that morning stuff. It's because my day is so much about being around other people. I like that quiet time. I like just having me and myself and my thoughts for a bit there, and then we'll do recovery in that post that afternoon session, and then it's home, take my son off my wife, spend that late afternoon, early evening with him, getting him ready for bed, getting him fed, bathed, put him in bed. Then it's trying to spend time with my daughter, connect with her before she goes to sleep, and then it's spend time with my wife. And my wife and I know that we're in a season that is our time together, is right at the end of the day. So we're trying to harvest that and spend as much quality time together as possible. And sometimes quality time is actually sitting there next to each other saying nothing, and that becomes quality time, because both of us are so exhausted from the day that I just want to be next to her and like my foot touching her foot or something like that, or she's hugged into me, and we're not saying heaps to each other, but that's quality time that we are spending with each other. It's not always exactly like that at nights, but for us, taking that hour, even if we are a little bit more tired that next day, to spend that time with each other is also important.
What's your superpower in your relationship with your wife?
That I understand how hard her role is in our household. It's not easy what she does. She stays at home with our kids, and she has to get our daughter ready for puna in the morning. She has to then spend the day with our son, who is super clingy, and I understand how exhausting that is for her. And my job is exhausting. What I do is exhausting. But when I get home, my tired is different to her tired, and I really understand that she's tired from being around our kids all day, and I'm tired from being at work doing what I love all day. And yes, they're both tired, but my capacity to have our kids and to not be annoyed and not be drained by what they've done all day is my threshold's just higher than hers. Her threshold, her tank is like down so much in that space that any little thing that our kids might do can really trigger her. Even though we're both tired, I can just accept that she needs to be able to do something else, whatever it is. So I'll always come home and make sure that I take the kids, because I need my wife to be able to fill her tank so that she can feel that she's had time for herself, that she can have more to give to our family. And the only way she does that is by her being able to be selfish. If she needs to go to the room or go out for a walk or go do anything, she might want to go to the supermarket by herself. And I really understand that. And I don't think that enough people talk about that, especially fathers who work. I don't think we talk about the fact that being at home with your kids all day is exhausting in a different way than it is to your job. It's not saying that your job is lesser or less tiring. It's just a different sort of tired. So I think my superpower is understanding that.
That is a great superpower. As someone who did a long stint at home with my children, it's really refreshing to hear that. And I think there'll be people listening who hopefully get a new perspective on that for their own lives too. It's a really important message.
I think so too. And I try and have that conversation with the fathers in our team and the young fathers in our team. I get that you're tired when you get home, man. Like, I'm not saying what we do is easy. What we do is really hard. And there's not many people in the world who can go out and do that. And I get that. But your wife is tired for a different reason. And if you understand that, then you can be more sympathetic and empathetic in that space. And know that your tank is low, but it's not low because you're sick and tired of your son screaming at you all day. You know, you have more capacity to deal with that, so deal with it, you know.
You've obviously got this incredible career and an incredible platform and voice. I mean, we all know how much influence our best rugby players have on rangatahi and on the rugby-loving public. And you use your voice, and you have used your voice. How important is that to you? Very
important. I think our ability to use our platform for what you perceive as the right reasons is really good. It's really important. And there's often been times where there's a space that I want to use my platform for, but I'm not the right person for that space. I want to then give my platform to someone else to do it. So I will create discourse on a topic that's important to me, but I'm not the right voice for it, to allow other people to then use that platform to leverage off. And I know people's priorities and people's views on things is different, and I don't think that people should necessarily be cancelled for what they say or feel. I think having a healthy discourse on all subjects is actually good, as long as it's not negative, as long as it's not trying to bring people down. Like, creating good discussion on certain things is important, and having different opinions, I think, is important. But if I'm passionate about something and I feel like I want to say something on it, I will definitely use my platform for that. It disheartens me almost. Dishearten might be the right word, when I know that people with a platform are passionate about something, but they're scared of the repercussions that might come from it through their jobs. And I get it, don't get me wrong, I get it, because that's your livelihood and you don't want to lose your livelihood. But it disheartens me when they're passionate about something and they don't speak up on something because of that fear of that. And I back myself that if I lost my job and everything went, I will be okay. I will find a way to be able to support my family, that my values on being able to speak on these things are more important than the backlash that might come from the general public or from, I don't know, my employer.
I'd imagine New Zealand Rugby have some pretty strict guidelines around, you know, how you appear publicly, right?
There's basic guidelines that you cannot cross. Like, if you can't be going out getting hammered till 8 a.m. and then acting like an idiot out in the city centre. That's obviously going to cause some repercussions. There's going to be repercussions from that. But using your voice on a subject or a topic or whatever, you're probably going to get the repercussions afterwards from that. And as sad as it sounds, or as bad as this might sound, it sometimes is, there's a holding period on how is that perceived from everyone else first.
Yeah, right.
Is that perceived well? Okay, it's all good. Is that perceived poorly? Okay, we might sanction
Interesting.
that.
Yeah.
And it's not just rugby. I think a lot of like businesses would do that. If you come out and you say something that's marginal, but general public think that's all good.
Yeah.
Probably going to get like pat on the back for it, which is not right. You know, it's not.
I mean, if you know, searching your name, you get a lot of rugby stats, you know, a lot of sports interviews and that kind of thing, but you also get a lot of news articles about how you have spoken out, you know, in terms of social justice, in terms of supporting the Hurricanes power recently, in terms of their haka, and, you know, responding to some homophobic carry on as well that's happened. And it's, it's just the core of who you are, right?
Yeah,
Like it wouldn't feel right not to?
It wouldn't, no, it wouldn't. And I'm not saying my voice or what I say is always right. It's just how I feel. And it's
right for you.
It is right for me, yeah. And not everyone has to agree with that. And that's okay. Like that's their thing to deal with, and how they find peace is how they deal with it. And I hope everyone finds peace in that. But for me, if I see something like that, I'm gonna say how I feel about it. And the Hurricanes Poa one's interesting actually, is I was asked that question in an interview that had nothing to do with it. That interview would have been 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
It was like a scrum with heaps of different reporters in it. And that was the last question in it that was like way left field about it. And they said, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. And for me, like my people and the people that I care about, if I say, oh yeah, no comment, that speaks so much to my people, So I know media and I know reporters try and find an angle, because that whole 10-minute interview, the only one question that came out of the whole interview and that they showed was that last bit from it. Like I get what they're trying to do on that, and I know that because I've spoken out in the past that's going to create... There's people who don't like me just purely because I've spoken out before, and that's cool, that's up to them. But they know that using that now as like a content piece is going to create engagement on their post that makes something like that, makes people talk poorly about me again, which is fine. But I'm going to say what I believe is right for me and my people. You know?
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you
just
don't,
are, man,
basically.
You know? And I would rather be damned by the people that aren't that important to me, because my people, if I say no comment and then they feel, oh, TJ, does TJ support us? Does he not want to stand up for Māori and for women in this setting? And that doubt isn't something that I can live. I need my people to know, and I need my people to know that my value system is this, and that when called upon in this space, I will speak about it.
How strongly do you feel about representing Māori, both, in the sport, but also in this way of speaking out?
Yeah, very strongly, very strongly. And maybe not so much in sport, maybe more so on what we've spoken about earlier on how I am as a father. There's a guy that I follow, and I'd consider him a mate actually, Louis.
Louis Davis?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had him on the show.
Have you?
Yeah.
He's
amazing.
Like, amazing. And what he's doing for the perception of Māori men and Māori fathers is something that I aspire to be able to have that same sort of impact, because the misconception of Māori fathers and Māori men is like it's so bad and so misrepresented. A lot of people paint Māori or Māori fathers with this one brush, where like Māori are loving, Māori are nurturing, Māori are about how do we grow our young men and women into leaders, into providers, into loving, caring people. And that's just not what a lot of people would think. So I think Louis is doing an amazing job in that space, and it's something that is more important to me than being a Māori in sport.
It's a real different way of thinking, and you're right, it's not the side that gets represented so often in media, whether it's reporting or in, TV shows.
It doesn't sell. People want to see that conflict. People want to see something bad that happens and either say, oh, that's so sad or whatever, or, yeah, see, that's typical, and that's what gets put out in media, in articles or movies and stuff like that. We're not represented in a fair way.
And in fact, a lot of the stuff that is misrepresented is the same stuff that's happening for everyone, but it's just not, presented in the same way.
100%.
And also, when it is happening, often with Māori families, is so often because they've had an unequitable start, that they've been oppressed for so long, and the pressures are entirely different. I mean, we could go
100%.
on, right?
Well, people don't like to go back to that. They we could go on for Asia on this, but it's like they have a starting point on history and everyone that's equal. Like we're equal from that moment on, but they just forget about everything that's happened pre that to get us to that point. I don't know, a 20-year-old kid today who might be making some bad decisions in life. They're like, oh, you're an adult now, you need to be making some better decisions. But that kid's perspective on what is right and wrong is dictated by the previous 20 years of his life. And his parents or her parents' perception on what right is wrong is dictated by their 50 years of life of what they had. And it just keeps going back to when we were oppressed, when colonisation happened, and when Māori were treated a certain way. Like, I don't want to get too far into it, but all of that oppression and that colonisation that created a really, really bad time for Māori didn't just not happen. Like, that has consequences over the course of time. And a lot of people say nowadays, oh, we've got to forget about that, we've got to move on from that. How do you move on from something that's happened and that's impacted so many different people over the course of time to say that the person of today needs to just get over it?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And, if the boot was on the other foot, they wouldn't be saying that.
It'd be very different.
Yeah,
It'd be very different.
Yeah, of course. And also, as we mentioned, so much of the representation when you're young and it's your founding years, and so much of the way that you think and the way your brain is wired and all that is, input from your family, but also the media and the people around you.
100%.
That messaging saying this is all that's going to happen. This is what you're going to be. It can be really destructive, which is why it's so important to have people like yourself, like Louis Davis, get up and speak and show the actual truth of what it really is like
100%.
for so many Māori and Māori dads.
When I was young, like Once We're Warriors came out, and it's not fair that a lot of young Māori, a lot of young kids when I was young saw that and thought that's what being Māori is. And I'm not dogging the movie itself, but that was the only thing we had on TV.
Yeah.
Was Once We're Warriors. The only thing that was showcasing Māori was Once We're Warriors. So everyone thought that's what being Māori must be like. That's what a Māori household must be like. It's not what my household was like. And my household had a loving mama and loving papa who would have done anything to make sure that we were safe. But that wasn't showcased on TV. But then you see, Home Alone. And yes, the kid gets left behind, but he comes from like this white picket house with a family that's so worried about him and loves him so much, and would do, like, yes, they made the mistake by leaving him there, but all of those movies around white families, like, they were all about how loving their household was, and the one Māori film we had was about what Once We're Warriors was about.
It sucks.
It does, yeah. And that's not the young kid's fault who's not Māori who saw Once We're Warriors. That's not his fault or her fault for seeing that. That's, I guess, media's fault, or like
it's a huge societal problem.
It is. Yeah.
And it's not going to be fixed by just putting out one good Māori movie either. But yeah, I mean, it really interesting stuff to think about, and I was embarrassingly too old when I came to understand the difference between equal opportunities and equitable opportunities. And there's that amazing cartoon, I'm sure that you've seen it, where there's the kids looking over the fence. Yeah. And I think that illustrates it perfectly. Give it a Google.
It's good.
It's good.
Might be able to put it up on the your
on the little video. We might be able to. I don't know if it's copyright though. Anyway. Okay, you recently became, back to sport. You recently became Super Rugby's leading try scorer, which is great because you're very competitive. And so you can tick that one off. Yeah. How was that when you went over the line for that try that you knew was going to be the one? How did that feel?
It was a weird moment because it wasn't like that cool of a try. It might have been, honestly, it might have been like one of my worst tries I've scored. And I wanted to celebrate and I wanted to do something cool, and I'd thought about it because Julian Salvia, he previously had the record. and I wanted it to be like cooler than what it was, and it just wasn't. So I like put the ball down and ran back to halfway, and I knew it was a cool moment, but the try itself wasn't that cool. So it was a little bit weird.
A little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was. I wanted it to be so much better than that, but it's still cool to have that record. And I think it gets surpassed. Like, there's some amazing try scorers who are still very young and still got a long way to go in their careers. But to be able to hold it for a moment in time is something I'm really proud of.
Yeah, that's the problem with being the best at something, right? Or, the top of some sort of statistic is like it's only a matter of time before someone else comes along.
Yeah,
and
you got Sevu Reece. He hasn't played that many games, but he's on like 57 tries. He just scores all the time. And then Rico Ioane, who I think he might have just signed for like another 4 years or something, and he's a try scoring machine too. So I'll be able to say that I held that record at some point in my career, which is awesome. But yeah, I think it gets past.
Maybe you can take on a protege and then sort of work them over.
Yeah,
if you get surpassed, and then you can kind of still claim it.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just trying to find ways for you to keep that competitive spirit alive when the time comes that you can't play anymore. Injury is something that is obviously a risk when you're playing such a physical sport, and you've had multiple injuries, and one when you injured your Achilles, it really put you out for a while. Yeah. And knowing how much you train and how much you love the sport and how competitive you are, that must have been really difficult.
It was tough. Yeah, I did it in November 22, and then I redid it as well. We didn't actually know. I still don't know to this day like exactly when I did it, because I heard it a couple times in that first rehab process. And we continued to do the rehab for like a few months after it. Just nothing was getting better, so we're like, we better go have a scan and see what's happening. There was a hole in the Achilles.
Oh.
So it wasn't a full rupture or anything, but I had to have the same surgery again, which wasn't nice. So it ends up keeping me out for 17 months. But what I really enjoy about that time was the amount of time I had for my friends and family. We talked about that sacrifice and how for a long time I didn't have time to spend with the people that I loved for that 17 months. Big portion of it, especially around that time where I got my second surgery. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get back for the World Cup. I knew I was going to be out for another 8 to 9 months. I mean, I'm going to invest this time with my family and with my friends, and we did a lot of cool stuff. Like the summer after I first did it, so November 22, that summer, we went away heaps on like road trips and that. All my boys with their kids, we spent all this time together. And then over the middle of the year when I had my second surgery, I spent so much time with my friends and family again. So I got 2 really good points of time where I could spend with them. And my daughter, for the first like 10 months of her life, I would have only been in it like 2 or 3 months, because we went away for the All Blacks for like 17 weeks, and then they came to Japan. And then COVID was like really bad there still, and they ended up coming home after like 6 weeks. And I was in Japan for 6 months by myself. So I didn't have much time spent with her. And then over that time of that 17 months, I was with her every day. Yeah. And so our relationship just flourished from it, and we're in such a great place because of that time. So yes, it sucked not being out on the field, but man, I'm grateful for the time that I had for my friends and family.
But it's all good, because you did your recovery and you came back and you're still sweet as. You can still play. That's the good news.
It is the good news. It is. And I was nervous that the way I play and my style of footy might have changed, or might not be as impactful as it was before I got injured. And I backed myself to be able to change that if it wasn't as impactful. But to know now that the way I play the game and how I play still has an impact on winning, and the way rugby is now, it's nice.
Yeah, it's very, they need you still, which is nice.
Thanks.
Looking back, if we go back to when you were a kid and you said you wanted to be an All Black, that's the dream of many tamariki, and very few get the opportunity. Was there ever a time when your parents were like, that is a lovely idea and let's hope that happens, but also let's have a backup plan?
Nah, there wasn't,
So they truly believed with you.
Well, they just believe in going all in.
Yeah.
And so my dad's quote, the hardest trainers make the best players. He said, "Look, you can try and be an All Black if you want. You're going to have to work hard and it's going to be tough. But definitely give everything you've got to it." And they just filled me with a confidence that if I didn't get it, the lessons that I would take from working so hard and sacrificing to try and get that would serve me in another walk of life, and I'd be okay in another walk of life, and that they would back me in that too. So they never said don't go all in on a day.
We were talking before we started recording about how things are so different now than, say, for our parents' generation in terms of career paths and how you can make money these days. Yeah. And, you took an atypical path, which didn't necessarily involve going to university and all that kind of thing. And not that we want to discourage anyone from studying, should that be what they want to do or what they need to do. But times have changed. You may be in 5 different jobs throughout your working career.
Yeah.
In terms of different income streams that you have. Yep. So obviously you get your paycheck from playing rugby. But what other ways do you make money?
We make money as well from like endorsement deals that we get from certain brands. Like Under Armour's a really big sponsor of mine who takes care of me, and I get paid to be an athlete with them. Property is something that I've been very lucky to get into. Tommy Hippenstall, he's from where I'm from, Titahi Bay, runs a real estate agency, Tommy's, funny enough. He took me under his wing. He was a really good friend of my grandfather's. He took me under his wing when I was about 18 years old, and he went and spoke to my mum and said he'd seen too many rugby players become professional athletes and leave the game with nothing. Yeah, right. And he had me buying property from a very young age in my career. I'm very lucky to have him in my life. He was he's a really good friend of mine now, but definitely a mentor first. And I would be away on an India tour. My sister's my power of attorney, and he would call me and be like, "You're buying this property." And I'd never seen it or whatever, anything. I'd be like, okay. And I'd get my sister Jess to sign the documents. And that's how I got into investing in property. Yeah, right. And he almost tied up my money so that I didn't have money to be an idiot with.
It was in assets, so you couldn't go out and spend it all.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is helpful at a young age. We're a kid who didn't have a lot of money growing up. Didn't fall into money, earned.
Yeah, you definitely earned it.
Money in footy. So I got given more money than I'd seen before. It'd be very easy for me to make some bad decisions with that. Yeah. And I did make bad decisions when I was younger. But to have him there to push that money into investment properties and stuff like that was very helpful for us.
Something we talk about money quite a lot on this podcast, but we haven't spoken really to anyone about the importance of kind of finding or taking advantage of those connections you have in your world who can help you in areas that maybe you aren't as knowledgeable about. Yeah. People you trust, obviously, and there are also financial advisors and things. But if it's not an area that you naturally know a lot about, doesn't mean it's something that you can't learn about or have someone else help you out with,
I believe in creating a team around you for certain things. I've got a team in rugby. I think we're really good. And we've got certain players who do certain things really, really well in it. My financial team as well, it might not be, the financial advisor that's the top dude in this or the top woman in this, the best accountant in the world. But I got a really good team of people that I trust and mentors that I trust who know more stuff than I do in those areas, and I trust them to take care of that. So because I don't have time to go out and learn everything there is to know about accounting or property management or buying investment properties. I've got enough time to be able to be okay enough to know when I'm being bullshitted or whatever. But I want a team around me who that's their job and they're really, really good at that. Yeah. So pay them the money to save me that money later on,
Did you talk about money when you were growing up at all? Because we talked off here about how important it is to have these money conversations. Did you talk about it in the home?
Nah, not at all, And I don't like that money's not spoken about at homes. I don't know every household, but every household that I was in or friends that I had, it was called tapu to speak about money and what people earned and stuff like that. which is like it's not helpful. You end up creating more young people who don't have any financial literacy and who are scared to talk about money and think speaking about money is a bad thing. So how do they ever create or have a really good relationship with money when they've never had the opportunity to speak about it?
What's a common misconception people have about you, do you think?
I think a lot of people would think I'm a dick. And I don't know if I am or not. Like, a lot of people that see me play footy, I'm very passionate, I'm very emotional out on the field. And I think people, like, I don't know if I would really like that if I just saw it on the field as well. Like, if you...
But that's not all of you,
It's
right?
not me at all.
There's moments of passion.
Person.
Maybe you do sort of dick-like behaviour.
Yeah, and I get it. Don't get me wrong.
It's not who you are.
No, I completely get why people would think that. But a lot of those people have never sat down and had a conversation with me, had never, I don't know, had a drink or broken bread with me. And I think I would be different to what people would perceive me as on the field. And that's the only reference point. Only reference point they have of me is me out on the field giving everything I've got to the game that I love and trying to win. And I'm so competitive and I'm a sore loser and I get all of that. But that's the only version of me they know. And I think I would be different to who they would sit down and have this conversation with.
I bet they love it when you get tries that way, you know? Like
Not the other team.
No, that's true. That's true. You make a fair point there. If you could sum up the experiences leading up to your success in one word, what would that word be?
Sacrifice. Yeah, definitely sacrifice. And on a number of different levels of what sacrifice could mean, whether that's diet choice, whether it's going out and drinking, parties, or the biggest sacrifice is time.
I think looking back on the kōrero we've had today, that is, the perfect word, and it didn't take you long to think of that, did it? Have you had an aha moment in your career where you're just like everything clicked into place, you're like, I get it?
Yep. Yeah, so I used to train early in the mornings and stuff like that when I was younger with my best mate. And when I got into professional sport, I noticed that professionals weren't training early before training. And I knew that was my moment, or the time of the day that I could have over everyone else was what I had been doing since I was like 14, 15 years old is relevant in this workspace too, because people aren't willing to come in early to do extra stuff because we're in there a long part of the day as well. And I knew that time was going to give me, if I did that every day for my career, I'm going to have an hour and a half every single day over the course of, hopefully, I didn't know how long my career was going to be then, but I was going to have an hour and a half over the course of a year, over the course of 10 years, hopefully, that I'd had over every other person.
That all adds up.
That wasn't willing to, yeah. And even if now a halfback who's played 8 years or whatever, he might be 30 years old, even if he starts today to be like, okay, I'm going to go and do 4 hours a day extra, he just can't catch up because I've been doing it for so long that my confidence in those small parts of my game, I just believe I'm so much better than everyone else at it because I spent so much time doing it.
You're giving away your secret though now. But as you say, the people who try and start doing it now, they can't catch up.
Yeah, they've got to be 16 years old now.
So if you're 16 and you're playing footy, get up in the morning, get to the gym. Tell me about a time when money unlocked something for you.
There's been a couple, but the biggest moment was when my wife and I paid off Mum and Dad's debt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that moment was... Because I didn't unlock something for me, like unlock something for my parents. That freedom of not having to pay a mortgage, of their money that they are now earning was their money, and if anything went wrong in their life, they would be okay. And yeah, that unlocked for me like a real sense of pride.
That's really cool. What's a bucket list must-have that you can't live without?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know?
Nah.
You're so focused on your training that you're not thinking about, like, I have to have a coffee every day.
Oh, yeah. See, but I'm so, like, cheap. I won't buy coffee at our, we have a cafe at work, but we also have, and they make really good coffee, but we also have, like, a coffee machine maker upstairs. So I will go into our cafe and just ask for empty cups. I will go and make coffee. But what's a must-have for me?
Do you game?
I did for a long time before I had kids.
Classic. Tale as old as time.
So must-have is something that I will consistent. A must-have for me is dates with my wife.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dates.
So you've got a line in the budget.
Yeah.
Do you guys budget?
Yeah, not really. I believe, that all of our money is either in runway money or invested. Mm-hmm. So there's a portion of money that we put aside for, like, whatever we want as well, but I will not put a cap on. Well, we will not put a cap on the money that we spend on time together. Yeah. So that's a budget must have. Yeah.
Can you explain what runway money is for people who might not be familiar?
So runway money is if I lose my job today, that we have 6 to 9 months worth of money sitting there, that, like, everything that we do is taken care of. So our mortgage is taken care of, power is taken care of, food is taken care of. We've got enough runway to get me and my wife 6 to 9 months to find something else to get us back on our feet.
Okay, I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions, TJ.
Okay.
All right. What are you saving for at the moment?
I'm not saving for anything. Like we spoke about, I've got either runway money. I guess I'm saving for runway money. But everything else is either invested or used. I don't believe in just putting money aside for nothing.
What was your first big purchase?
I bought a PlayStation 4, my first purchase.
Nice.
And I was, like, so stoked the other day. It was on the cusp or just after PlayStation 3 stopped, and we used to play online, all the boys, and everyone had a PS4, and I didn't have one. And for ages, I was like, no, I'm not gonna buy one. I'm just gonna keep playing PS3. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna go buy it. So a PS4.
No regrets?
None. No way. I spent lots of time on that with my mates.
You got your money's worth?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
What's your go-to treat?
It's a caramel slice. That's down the road from where me and my wife live, or our family lives. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What brings you joy?
My family bring me joy. Yeah.
Beautiful. And what was the last thing you splurged on?
We just built a house, which was...
That's quite a splurge.
It is, yeah.
If there's one thing Kiwi could do today to start on their journey to achieving their goals, what would that thing be?
My advice would be make sure the goal is your goal. I think a lot of people and people that I grew up with had goals that were set by either society or their parents, and then they pursued it and realised it wasn't their goal, and they weren't passionate about it and they didn't do it. So make sure the goal is your goal before you pursue it.
Again, super wise. Thank you so much,
Thank you
TJ Perenara, for coming in to This Is Kiwi. It's been such a pleasure to chat to you, to get to know you, to learn you are absolutely not a dick, I promise. Okay? And I know because I've spoken to him. This is Knowledge for Better. This is TJ Perenara. This is Kiwi.